We're a little over a week into the season, and we already got some insane overreactions that either claim a once clear-cut championship contender is now a pretender, or vice versa. So today, I feel that we should address these overreactions by discussing teams that fall into the contender category, as well as teams that may have contender momentum, but in reality are pretenders. The first team we will discuss today is the Los Angeles Lakers, as they have come out the gate better than we have seen in ages, and the hype around them is very high right now. JJ Redick has made this offense phenomenal, and defensively, having Anthony Davis, who is a top 3 defender in the league, makes this team deadly on both ends. They didn't do anything besides add JJ Redick as the coach this offseason, and many, including myself, thought it was a horrible way to approach the offseason, but through 1 week, it looks good. There is a world where this momentum dies down and the team from the past 2 seasons shows, but if I am being honest, the Lakers have the right system in place now, and 2 MVP caliber players making the hype around them warranted, and making the belief that they are contenders a reality and not an overreaction. Now, they might be a play-in team, but I would still take them over many teams in the West come playoff time. I feel the opposite way about the Warriors, as there has been optimistic signs all around with them, as Buddy Hield looks so good, Andrew Wiggins may be back, Steph Curry is still a top player in the league, and all the other things factoring into them looking good through 1 week. However, the competition they have been showing out against hasn't been great. There are still glaring issues and weaknesses with the team, and when push comes to shove, as constructed right now, the Warriors are not better than the other teams you see in the West in similar situations. So I gotta say, the hype around them is an overreaction, and the Warriors to this point are pretenders. Heading out east, I do see a major issue with a team that was thought to be one of the biggest threats to the Celtics, the 76ers. Joel Embiid has more technical fouls in games played, Paul George still hasn't made his 76ers debut, and the team is struggling to not only get by competitive teams, but teams that are not going to make the playoffs. At the rate they are currently at, Paul George and Joel Embiid will play less than 30 games together, and their chemistry with the big three will not be there come playoff time. Their depth is great, but the depth loses its effectiveness when the stars are never there, and I don't have confidence in the stars being there, making me say that this team is in fact a pretender until they show consistency with their health and develop chemistry. I am rooting for them though. Paolo Banchero and the Magic are off to a hot start, and Paolo looks like an MVP level player, but to say this young team that still has horrid shooting woes and little offensive consistency is ready to contend, you are just wrong in your assessment of them at the current state. The Magic are pretenders, but they are a piece or two away from joining the contenders conversation. The Pelicans' star talent is amazing on paper, but with injuries and inconsistencies, it is hard to look at them as contenders. I also refuse to acknowledge them as a serious team until they add a true center. They are pretenders a weekend. Expectations for the Grizzlies were high given the fact that John Morant was coming back, as well as most of their roster. Unfortunately, it seems as if the injury bug is permanently wrapped up into them, and when healthy, they haven't even looked great, so the Grizzlies are pretenders. Last year, the Timberwolves were easily contenders, and at one point the favorite to come out of the Western Conference. Flash forward to current day, the optimism around this team has diminished for many, but for me, I look at it differently. Teams that have elite depth, great coaching, an elite defense, and a superstar on offense normally find themselves successful. Although the co-star to Anthony Edwards may have taken a hit, Julius Randle is still elite, and once he becomes comfortable in the system, he can be a better fit. We already have seen the possibilities of this team once chemistry is developed, and they still look like a good team right now with questions surrounding their rotations and fits. Because of that, I think it is safe to say the Timberwolves are contenders, and any narrative that they're not is just wrong at this point. Embarrassing losses for the Bucks have led many to believe their window is closing or has already closed. Seeing how the team at their best is still flawed has made questions about their ability to truly contend arise more than they were last season. Their record with Doc Rivers is atrocious, their supporting cast is outdated and subpar, and the question marks with their health are really concerning. One thing holds true though. Damian Lillard is showing that last season was a fluke, and Giannis is as dominant a player we have ever seen still. The team at its best will be a threat to take down anyone, and knowing that we still have not seen their best yet in the young season, and knowing that they are still working out kinks, looking at it now, the Bucks are still contenders. They are borderline though, so maybe the next time I make this video they will drop. Before we continue, I need to say that the Thunder and Celtics are the clear-cut favorites in their respective conferences in my eyes, and I think we can all agree on that, so they will not be discussed in depth in the video. Just know they are as good as advertised. A near-perfect start for the Cavaliers with Darius Garland looking as good as ever, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen playing well, and Donovan Mitchell being him. Optimism surrounding the Cavaliers has been high. However, this team was good in the regular season the past 2 seasons, and when it came time to perform under the bright lights, they folded. So as great as it is to see Garland look like he's bounced back and their other members of their big four playing well, I can't back any belief that they are contenders until I see them handle the bright lights. The Cavaliers are pretenders. James Harden has found his Brooklyn Nets form again, and with that, the Clippers look so much better than advertised to this point. Zubac and Norman Powell have been amazing this season, and the other players they have added this offseason to replace Paul George have been great. Unfortunately, I claim that this team would miss the playoffs this year. I am leaving that stance slowly, but to put them as a contender would be a massive overreaction. Impressive start, but they are pretenders. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving lost in the NBA Finals and their team got better in the offseason. This team is still a true contender. Fox, Sabonis, DeRozan, and Monk. On paper, the Kings have an unstoppable offense. However, their defense is going to be a concern, and they will go through many rough moments during the year. And realistically, their firepower can be matched by many teams. So what is their advantage to push them past other teams? Not much. Pretenders. The Miami Heat could make a run to the finals, and it would surprise absolutely no one, but I am thinking they are still pretenders. The New York Knicks may not look as dominant as advertised so far, but they are contenders to this point. An amazing 2024 season ended in the conference finals at the hands of the Celtics for the Pacers, but they have not started the 2025 season hot at all, as they have been pretty underwhelming. I never viewed them as real contenders, so saying they are pretenders isn't an overreaction for me personally. But if you thought of them as contenders and are reacting to the start as reasoning to not have them there anymore, you are overreacting. They are pretenders. As a Suns fan, I am never really optimistic about them, but having Kevin Durant showing no signs of regression, Devin Booker being the elite player he is, and Bradley Beal figuring things out, claiming the Suns as a contender is actually not a bad take. They addressed most of their issues in the offseason, and they now have the opportunity to correct things during the duration of the season. Knowing that there is room for improvement, I am skeptical about labeling them as contenders, but Kevin Durant and Devin Booker will be 2 of the 3 best players in almost every series they play in the playoffs, and talent being ran the right way on the court as well as from the coaching sidelines is hard to beat in the playoffs. This is ultimately why I have them as contenders. The most controversial team in my eyes is without a doubt the Denver Nuggets, as we know how good they are, and having the best player in the NBA is going to win them games. However, their issues with depth, shooting, and defensive consistency makes them extremely vulnerable in many areas. These concerns may look to be fixed as the regular season progresses, but in the playoffs, they could very well be exposed, and I honestly believe that the Nuggets are more likely to lose round 1 than make a deep playoff run given their deficiencies. Shockingly enough, I believe the Nuggets' current team is a pretender, and I was feeling this way before the season started. Their start only solidifies this stance for me. But yeah, that's going to do it. Let me know who you think is a contender and who you think is a pretender. Obviously, when I say contender, I mean teams that could win the NBA championship. So a lot of these teams that are pretenders have no shot at winning that. But yeah, let me know who you have where. And if you want to see my weekly recap in case you missed it, this episode is actually on the Nuggets, the last team we just talked about in this video. So yeah, make sure you click on that and watch that video. Y'all stay safe. Have a good one. Bye.